Hello, this is Pretty Guardian. And for today's video, we are going to be talking about the action JRPG VIII, Lacrimosa of Donna. This game is part of a series of action JRPGs that stretches back over 30 years at this point. And so VIII Monstrum Nox is actually the most recent one, but the one that I have been eyeballing since about 2018 is Lacrimosa of Donna. And so what kind of had me a little bit wary of this game was the whole action JRPG concept. I get it, we've seen a lot of it, but it's not really my thing. I tend to enjoy more traditional turn-based combat. But when I was looking at reviews for this game, a lot of people said this is basically a culmination of all the work that they've done in the past. It has one of the best stories, some of the best graphics, some of the best gameplay. It kind of hits its stride with this game. So I was like, you know what? I'm waiting on some other games to come out right now, and I see this one on sale. I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm so glad I did. It is such a fun game, and I wish that I hadn't have waited so long to give it a shot because it really impressed me on multiple levels. Right away, I want to talk about the music in this game. For a lot of people who have followed the VIII franchise, the music never disappoints. I would agree that the music in this game is top notch. One of my favorite tracks they hit you with right when you're able to start actually exploring levels, and the music is upbeat and it's fast paced, and it just feels like the perfect song to be going on an adventure to.
That fruit looks delicious.
And there's actually several other tracks throughout the game that stand out as really having a good emotional impact or just being kind of perfect for that area of the game. The graphics of the game is something that it kind of gets hit for a lot. I would say that it reminds me of something from the PS3, Xbox 360 sort of era of games. It reminds me of Eternal Sonata in a way. It's very colorful, very bright, anime sort of graphics. So I think it's stylized in a way that ages very well, but if you're somebody who wants cutting edge, realistic graphics, this probably isn't going to be for you. I did appreciate the attention to detail in the character designs, particularly with Donna and Kristen. I think they look great in this game. And there's lots of interesting areas to explore and lots of interesting enemies to fight. So overall, I thought the graphics were very good in this game. Where VII's games really stand out, in addition to the music, is the gameplay. They've always been very action RPG gameplay forward. And so for me coming into this game as a first timer, I feel like a lot of the stages are really designed like traditional levels. It has a very arcade sort of feel to it. I actually think that that's a lot of fun. It is fast-paced. You're able to just rush in and start killing stuff just right after the tutorial. And so the gameplay is really interesting because there's a lot of exploration involved in uncovering the different areas, and you do get rewards for that. Then eventually you'll also get different abilities that allow you to traverse the terrain better, such as boots that let you walk over the nasty, sticky swamp water, or an underwater breathing device. I thought that overall it was kind of a good way of freeing up the world so that it kind of feels like you can kind of explore wherever you want, but also giving kind of a soft lock. So you do have to get those different items before you're able to start exploring different areas. During that time, you are also getting buddies around the island. So to jump into the story a little bit here, because I feel like they did a good job of intertwining the story of the game with the actual gameplay. Kristen is an adventurer. He's on a ship, the Lombardia, and the ship ends up capsizing and you're shipwrecked on this island. So you're exploring the island And you're also finding your crew members from the ship and a few little buddies there along the way. And as you unlock the different crew members, they're able to help you get to different areas on the island that you weren't able to explore before. And a lot of the people also have skills. So you're able to find like a blacksmith and a tailor and a doctor who can help you make medicines and things like that. But the gameplay doesn't just stop with exploration and uncovering these buddies. You also have to defend your little castaway village that you're making. And so there are these like little stages designed around defending the village from waves of enemies. And so you're able to actually fight those enemies. Your NPCs that you've uncovered can provide you support. Basically, you're able to upgrade your defenses throughout the game, which will help you defend your village better. And you also get really great rewards from that as well, like more materials for crafting and different upgrades. So all of these systems kind of layer together in a way that feels very satisfying. I will say that the story is a little bit slow paced at first. I think the first 2 hours of the game were kind of a slog for me. I will say that they gave you just enough adventure and everything that I was kind of interested in continuing to play. You know, I was kind of looking around and going, okay, I can see all the pieces are here. Where it really impressed me was in the late game, where you kind of got to see everything come together, and then the mechanics for the boss fight started getting a little more challenging, and you learn more about this mysterious character Donna and her backstory and how she kind of fits into everything that you're going through. And it's actually very well done. One thing that I don't think is a weakness of the game, it's just something that I kind of wish that I understood about this franchise. Adol Christian is basically the main character in every Ys game, and I was kind of thinking about it before buying this game, and I was like, well, it's kind of stupid that he's the main character of all of them. Like, I'm so used to like Final Fantasy or Tales of Berseria, where you get a different cast of characters every time. Conceptually, each of these games is meant to be like a travelogue or like a journal. He's a very prolific adventurer, and he's gone on potentially like hundreds of these sorts of adventures. And so each game is kind of like a retelling of the adventure that he went on in a way. And if you follow the games, you start seeing certain characters or areas kind of come up again or are mentioned, and it just kind of builds on the lore of itself. So knowing that and then playing the game, I actually think it's pretty interesting. And after playing this one, I went back and played The Oath in Felghana just so I could get kind of a feel for the franchise as a whole, kind of where it's been, where it's at now. I think it's a really cool franchise. I'm excited to try out Ys 9 Monstrum Nox. I think they're probably reaching the maximum capabilities of the engine that they're on, but I'm excited to see what they do with that game. Honestly, for me, there weren't any glaring flaws in the game. Like, yeah, maybe it was a little bit slow paced at the beginning, but in a lot of ways, I feel like this is kind of an action JRPG done right. I feel like that there was a level of project management in making sure that there was a consistent product from start to finish. And this is a very sizable game. I spent about 60 hours playing through it. I think that depending on how you want to engage with the gameplay, for example, like if you want to do it on nightmare difficulty, or if you want to fight all the hardest bosses and that sort of thing, you can probably get a lot more gameplay out of it than I did. But even at 60 hours, I feel like that's a very sizable JRPG. So when I compare it to something like Tales of Arise, I'm kind of like, okay, Tales of Arise had better graphics, but I don't think it had better gameplay. I was actually really impressed with Lacrimosa of Donna in that regard, because even though it seems like it would be inferior graphically, as an overall delivered product, I actually think it's the better game. It's the superior JRPG. Looking at the reviews on Steam, it had a lot of very positive reviews. I wanted to kind of find something negative to say about the game, just to kind of give a little bit more of a balanced perspective. And I really struggled with that because there really wasn't a whole lot of negative feedback on the game. What it seemed like most people had to say, if it was something negative, it was very specifically about the port. So the game, if you play it on the PS4, you're gonna get like the top-notch experience. A lot of people say that there were a lot of like bugs and crashes and different issues with the PC version of the game. When I played it, I didn't experience any crashes or any issues in that regard, so I can't really speak to that. It sounds like they did a lot of bug fixes and patches to kind of get the game where it needed to be. So if you're looking at it on the Switch or on the PC, maybe just do a little bit of extra research to make sure this is going to be the game for you. But like I said, I had no problems with it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I am looking forward to seeing what they do next in the franchise. So that is my review of Ys VIII, Lacrimosa of Donna. Thank you so much for listening along and checking this game out with me. It's definitely one I wish that I hadn't slept on for so long. So if you like today's video, leave this video a like, subscribe so you can be the first to know when I'm launching new videos, and I will see you in the next one. This is Pretty Guardian, logging out.